Thank you, Lance. I appreciate it. Welcome to a joint technology presentation here between CBTS and Payne Consulting. Andre, it's great to see you. We're going to talk a little bit today about real-world AI. You would ask us maybe if we could get together and kind of talk about our experience in AI. I'll kind of hand it over to you. First, say thank you, and kind of you say hello, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Matt, and thank everyone that's listening in. Payne Consulting and Management Group, our goal is to bring better business outcomes to organizations that we work with. So our company focuses on cost optimization and risk management. And we believe visibility is critical in this area. So when we bring visibility to our cost optimization and risk management analysis, we have a simple formula, and it's you lower cost, you lower risk, equals higher efficiency and high profits. And that produces better business outcomes.
Yep, I think the business outcomes, I think that's a great thing to talk about because we're going to talk about that a lot and how we approach AI. Myself, my name is Matt Douglas, Senior Solutions Engineer here at CBTS. Been here about 18 years. Justin Grisham, want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, Justin Grisham. I lead our internal AI and analytics practice here at CBTS. Great to be with you.
And you've been here 12 years?
12 years now.
Yeah, so we've both been here quite a bit, quite a long time. All right, well, we want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we've seen out there. Not going forward with my clicker here because I'm not hitting the right button, Lance. First thing I want to do is kind of tell you a little bit about CBTS. If you're not familiar with us, we've been around 30 years. We just had our 30th anniversary. We do around 1.3, 1.4 billion a year, about 2,400 or so employees. And we're kind of unique in the space here in that when Payne Consulting thinks that there might be a fit or maybe something CBTS could bring, we're kind of half of a systems integrator and a half of a managed service provider and managed security service provider and cloud provider. And you're going to see some of that here today. So really, this is a kind of give you an idea of what we do. This is kind of the breadth of solutions that we will bring when Andre, thinks that we might be a fit. And again, we're going to specifically talk about AI today. But what's been interesting about AI is how that it's really gone across the entire portfolio. We've been delivering managed services here in the channel here for, call it 20 years, right? And really, we've seen AI just infiltrate anything on voice, right? AI is becoming a requirement in the CCaaS, the contact center world. AI is becoming a requirement in managing networks, AI ops. Absolutely. We're seeing AI come in and take over in the security world. So, and one of the things we want to talk about then today is what we've seen for, if people want to start building agentic AI or machine learning or what do they have to do on the data side, these kinds of things. So, but I wanted the folks here to know that really we're kind of known for taking best of breed solutions and those AI toolkits and building the business outcomes that you talked about, Andre. That's really, we like focusing on that thing as well, right? Knowing when to say yes, knowing when to say no, and focusing on what those business outcomes are and what you need. So first, let's talk a little bit about, I think there's been a learning curve out here. Maybe early on, people thought I could just say AI, spend a little bit of money, and it was going to be wildly successful and come really easy. And I think it hasn't quite been that way. So talk a little bit about our experience internally or what some of our customers are about kind of what defines success and failure, what's kind of the differentiators there.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Matt. And we saw early on that there was hype grew very quickly. Mm-hmm. And it was almost a game of how quickly can I get into AI, and we found that
say that I'm in AI.
Say I'm in AI. Right. Yeah, right. That's the truth. And a lot of organizations found themselves chasing the technology, and really that's kind of the backwards approach. We aren't chasing AI for AI's sake. What we're really chasing is what Andre is talking about, which is business outcomes. Mm-hmm. And so I like to say that an AI conversation really isn't an AI conversation. It's a business conversation. Yep. And the successful organizations who are seeing the real ROI on AI are finding themselves practicing their basic business practices and doing it really well with the technology. So that the successful enterprises are the ones who are streamlining their existing value streams.
The existing ones.
They're not building dreamware. They're not building hypeware. They're actually focused on delivering value to their customers, and that's what's moving the needle.
I think that's a good point because it's exciting to think about the dreamware, and we're headed that way, right? I mean, it's going to happen, right? Someday they'll replace me here at this table.
No.
But I think that's the thing we've been seeing is how people have been having success is focusing on the problems they have today, the high friction areas they have today, and what are some of the tools that can, that we can bring in to help solve that.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And early on, the way that the conversation kind of unfolded is you get consultants who would come into a room, they talk to people about what AI is for about an hour. They'd break off into little groups and they'd say, okay, how's AI going to solve all of your problems? Yep. And really, that's not really the best way to go about using this technology, because AI doesn't get created by an individual, or value doesn't get created by an individual. It doesn't get created by a team, right? It doesn't even get created by a department. It gets created across the entire enterprise. So when you're looking at AI value, you need to be thinking across the enterprise, and you need to be thinking about how is that value delivery working today for customers, and where can AI slot in to remove friction on those processes,
or bring more value. I mean, we've done that in our global security SOC. Mm-hmm. You always had in the past in a security SOC tier one kind of eyes on glass that would take a look at every single alert coming in and try to triage that, organize those things. We're now using AI tools to take all those feeds from our SIMs, be able to take all correlate hundreds of alerts, let's say, from a particular instance in a business, and then determine really where does that need to go to tier two, when does it need to be responded to immediately, what can be closed down as noise. And that's been allowed us to take what used to be real folks in the tier one and move them up to tier two and do more valuable work. Definitely. And so that we do that across many things in our world, right?
Perfect example of not changing best practice but improving it.
Yep. That's exactly it. All right, so when we kind of talk about this journey then, right, of using AI to get to, solving business problems, to get from here to there. I mean, I want to get in my car. I live in Indianapolis. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to drive to San Diego. Well, I've got to kind of plan the trip and where am I going to stop? What are the tools I need, et cetera. This analogy here, kind of a fueling the AI car. I know you've used this, kind of presentations to customers, et cetera. Talk about what some of the big chunks are in building that AI solution.
Setting up your data foundation is critical. And this is an area that I think there's a lot of conversation around.
It's the fuel, right? I mean,
It's the fuel. It's going to be what powers your success. And so you hear a lot about data quality, and there's a real question out there of how do I do this right? Mm-hmm. How do I do this well? And I'd say the best advice we can give you is getting your data foundation modernized first, not boiling the ocean, but focusing on the use cases, again, that are driving value for your customers today or driving top line and bottom line results. If you build your data foundation and your use cases around the processes that are governing your business today, you're going to see an immediate ROI coming out on the other side as you deploy the technology. The engine to this will sit atop that data foundation, and it's going to accelerate exactly what you're doing if you deploy it effectively. Ultimately, though, data will be the fuel that moves your organization and improves your organization, and it will eventually be exactly what agents are using to make good decisions. So
let's talk about that data problem though. In our business, right? We have. We use Salesforce to keep track. We've got a bunch of data in Salesforce. We've got an ERP system. We've got files and contracts all over the place. We've got spreadsheets. We've got Word documents we send out. Talk about that journey of how do you organize and pull that data together, transform it, and make it ready to be used by these AI tools. Because that's some of our most important consulting work we do with customers out there. You talk about getting ready, this data readiness, but talk about that journey, even what we've had to do to bring all these disparate data sources together and make it available for an AI tool.
Absolutely. It's a great question because a lot of organizations found themselves making the mistake of bringing in AI and turning it on and expecting it to solve problems. When really the way that you need to go about this is you need to be setting up that data foundation on top of setting that data foundation with your Salesforce data, for example. I can give you a use case here. So at CBTS, we have 1,000+ engineers, and we need to know who's available to work on customer projects. And we have engineers who work across any number of technology stacks. We need to know who's available, when they're available, and do they have the skills to service our clients. In the old world, this was sending out emails, making phone calls, spending hours, maybe even days trying to get a hold of the right manager to find the right resource to engage with the client. We took the data that was in Salesforce as it existed. We put it into Microsoft Fabric. We transformed that data.
That's part of that data readiness, to deciding what data you want and then making it ready and available, in this case, in the Fabric world.
That's exactly right. And then we used AI on top of that and set it and designed an agent that would respond to sales reps on demand, right? So no more waiting for an email reply or trying to get a hold of someone by phone. You can go in, you can ask who's available, who has the skill set, and how do I get a hold of them? And you've taken what was effectively days and turned it into seconds.
And that's exactly the kind of work we do with our customers, et cetera. But it's great to show even just what we've done internally with that. So that's a great point. Yeah, I think that data thing, and one of the things we were talking about before we went live here, Andre, you brought up the point of governance. What are people starting, how do I look at what are the security and what are the rules around that? So talk a little bit about that governance journey that we work with customers on as well.
Yeah, well, I really liked what you said, Andre, in respect to risk, right? Risk is really at the forefront of people's minds, and it should be at the forefront of people's minds, right? You want to be thinking about what are my lower risk opportunities that have potential high ROI, but you need a governance framework in place in order to make this successful. You need to establish a framework, a minimal framework that at least treats governance as a matter of shipping to production. You don't want to immediately move AI agents into production. You need to make sure that your data is provisioned correctly. It's set up correctly. You've got visibility on the use cases. It's an unfortunate fact that it's very easy to trick these AI systems currently. So you need to be thinking in terms of risk tiers. You don't want to slow down innovation, but you do want to establish a framework so that you have eyes on what use cases are being deployed, who has access to what data, and how are they using it.
That's a great point. So we talk about kind of data readiness, right? To feed the kind of the AI as the engine. And then really, there's decisions on where to put that, run those tools. Am I going to run them in Microsoft? Am I going to run them in AWS? Am I going to run them in, maybe my own data center? I hear things of the idea of large language models and even small language models that are being moved to the edge, and people are talking about edge compute. So talk a little bit about what our experience has been about where to decide to put these tools, and when we're building agents, what cloud to put them in. Like, I know that's some of the consulting that we do with our customers.
Yeah, I'm generally a fan, of using the hyperscalers as much as possible
because the tools are there, the price points seem reasonable,
and the security. You have to be thinking security first, and unfortunately, some of the smaller, even shinier new startups don't really have that security posture in place. Mm-hmm. And that's really where you start to introduce risk. So I'm a big fan of leveraging existing hyperscalers, making sure that you're following their best practice, and they've got tools in place. And we've spoken about it, Microsoft Fabric.
We're a big Microsoft shop. We've got some 300 Microsoft technicians, a bunch of certifications, and we're anybody out there, Andre, in your world who are looking at designing some kind of a Microsoft-based solution, we've got the resources to help build out those clouds, that infrastructure, to help to build these tools, the agentic AI tools, et cetera. So yeah, we've been a big fan of Microsoft.
Yeah. And we've adopted their security posture, and that's part of how we're able to accelerate. We're not continuously reinventing security every time a new capability comes online. We're adopting the industry best practices as we deploy, and that's enabling us to move faster.
Now, one of the things, Andre, again, you brought up before we started here about even what LLMs to use. I think in the Microsoft world, it's easy to choose OpenAI, but you can drop in other LLMs as well, Llama or whatever those things you want to put in there. So we work with customers about whatever they particularly need and what tools might fit them the best.
Absolutely. Yeah. Different models have different strengths, and we like to use a blend of them depending on what those strengths are and how they're performing.
Well, you were just telling me, again, before we started here, that I think you said Claude and Anthropic have dropped some new tools. And Andre, you were saying about how the quickness of change and these tools just got dropped in the last week, and you think are pretty transformative. So
yeah, absolutely,
we have to stay on top of those things. Yep. Andre, as we've gone through this so far, is there anything we're missing or any kind of thoughts or comments you've got here?
Well, since I like to start with security because of risk management, and I think this year more of the organizations are going to focus on security identities, because now we have a new set of identities. I think the acronym NHI, non-human identities, and I believe the agentic AI falls into that category. So that's going to be a major focus in that IAM, identity access management, privilege access management space, where we're going to have to take a close look at that and see how do we put that in place. Because as you said, Lance, security should be first. And unfortunately, I believe many organizations started allowing their employees to use AI, whether it's sanctioned or not. And now we've got to backstep and say, okay, how do we secure? How do we put guardrails in place? How do we govern the usage? What policies we need in place? So I think that's going to be a focus this year, especially since agentic AI is here.
You're absolutely right. You just mentioned non-human entities, right? And basically, an agentic AI is a non-human entity. One of the big, fast-growing spaces is now is, we've all grown up putting firewalls in front of data centers and in front of our stores and locations. There's a fast-growing segment now from folks like Cisco, Palo, and other building AI firewalls that basically sit around an agentic AI entity, if you would, a non-human entity, and are keeping track of every interface it might have, facing the world, every interface it might have with an LLM, every interface it might have with your data, to make sure that we're not violating the governance that we want to set up for these, for these business outcomes. So that's a great point.
Right.
Well, let me show you a little bit here. CBTS, again, we've been around 30 years. We've developed a pretty comprehensive AI practice, and it goes across what we kind of call 5 pillars here. You see AI consulting. So the idea to come in and help if you need some help, kind of just deciding where to go. Some like, what's the high friction, low hanging fruit? What is the long-term dream though? It's good to think big. So we want to help with that as well. So AI consulting, we're there for you. Data readiness. You've already talked quite a bit about that. That's a great skill of ours, to be able to come in and help you understand what you need to do to take your structured and unstructured data and get that ready for your next generation of AI tools. The generative AI deployment, basically helping people build agentic AI solutions, those kinds of things we've got great experience in. And then AI infrastructure, we're seeing as this world matures, even though you talked about using the cloud tools, using Microsoft, as these tools mature and the solutions mature, it's going to be more and more of that work's going to start coming into companies' data centers. More and more of that work's going to start coming into edge compute, where, we had this whole last 20 years of moving the compute from my building to the cloud. And now as we do more and more AI work locally around video and these kinds of things, we're going to have to start moving these LLMs or small language models and agentic AI work back into a building, into these edges. And so we're there to help. We didn't put a list up here, but all the big names you'd think of, Cisco, HP, all the names you'd think kind of on the AI infrastructure side, NVIDIA, we can help with. And then that AI security part that you just talked about, really whether it's help on identity management and privilege access management, building out those kinds of solutions, whether it's help on the actual, AI firewalls, that kind of stuff, we've got the expertise to do that. So now we did want to talk a little bit too then about kind of our approach. And I think we've kind of gotten there a little bit on this, but talk again, because again, you deal with a lot of our customers out there facing. Talk about our approach here, if we do these cycles, if you would, when we help a customer.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say in a nutshell, we meet customers where they are. Everyone's on a different.
They don't have to take all of this. They may need just part of it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Every customer is in a different position. They're in a different state of maturity. And really what we try to do is we try to accelerate what success ultimately looks like to them and make sure that journey and that path is as smooth as possible. So that starts with our advisory services, and we really help customers envision not just what success can look like, but what it should look like, but what it can look like for their organization. We try to make sure that customers are not just on a path, but they're on the right path. And that comes down to getting their data set up in with a solid foundation, that they're focused and avoiding the traps and the pitfalls that come along with sometimes complex data migration efforts, sometimes complex data modernization efforts. We've been there, we've done it, and we know the ins and outs of what to avoid. So we try to establish that solid data foundation. So our customers are set up for success, especially as agents begin to come online, because this is going to be especially critical.
Yep.
For that, right? And then we help our customers deploy. So it's not just about getting ready, but actually moving into action. And we help establish governance structures. We help deploy agents in a way that
Application development, agent development.
100%.
We absolutely will do it. Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
And it's ultimately secure and scale. This is going to move faster and faster. And the more solid your foundation, the faster you're going to be able to go. We prefer to run on pavement, not sand. And so we try to set
I haven't heard that one. That's good. I like it.
We try to set the most solid foundation for our customers as possible.
Now, we had done a piece a couple days ago, and you'd mentioned somebody asked the question about buy versus build.
Yeah.
And I thought, give your take. I thought you had some interesting kind of observations on that buy versus build thing.
Yeah. So my general opinion on this is every OEM and ISV is going to continue to invest billions into making sure that they are on the edge and they're staying ahead of the game with AI.
The Ciscos, the Palos, Fortinets, you name it. Yep.
You don't need to compete with that. You should absolutely leverage those capabilities, work with those partners, and go deep in those technology stacks. That's the buy decision. Anytime even if you can't see an immediate feature, if it's an obvious feature that will likely occur in a platform, I'm a big fan of saying, let's let the OEMs and the ISVs do what they do best and mature their products. On the other side of this, though, the real value in data, the real value in analytics is actually blending the data that comes out of these systems. And most of these systems aren't set up in a way that they're easily communicating to each other. That's really where analytics is going to find its next leg. That's what the next era of analytics is going to look like. It's going to be the blending of data across these systems. So when you're looking at how do I maximize the value I'm getting out of my data foundation, I would strongly suggest if you're looking at multiple systems, that's where you want to.
I think it's a great point. You just mentioned companies, using a CRM like Salesforce.
Yeah.
People using an ERP and quoting tools. They've got marketing departments. Everybody's putting together a lot of great structured, unstructured data, but they're islands. And one of the keys is bringing that all together and then making that available in this next generation of agentic tools.
Yeah. They've got their islands. We bring the bridges.
Yep. The other thing I thought was a build versus buy too is even kind of, we mentioned cloud, there will be times where, okay, it's best to put it in AWS's or Microsoft's cloud. They're going to be coming more and more times where like, no, we maybe need to do development in that cloud, but our production is going to be in our own data centers, et cetera. So, Lance, as we've been going through this, have we had any kind of questions come through?
Yeah, I got a question. What's kind of a number one piece of advice you'd give a customer that's really, really heavy into getting AI into their organization? What's kind of the number one piece of advice you'd give to them as they're starting that journey?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. Focus on your business, not the technology, right? Focus on the friction in your business and your value delivery to customers. It's maybe a counterintuitive statement, but really your top line, your bottom line results come from serving customers. Focus on removing the friction that inhibits you from doing more for them, and you're going to succeed.
Don't you also need in the business a champion of some of these efforts? And you've got to kind of sift through the wheat from the chaff because there are some people with maybe unrealistic expectations, other folks with more realistic related to more high friction things. So I think part of it is to make sure that you can get some leadership in your business to bring together and build a direction on the AI. Because if not, you have different fiefdoms talking about AI solutions and maybe starting to spend money in an unorganized way.
100%. And I'd say like one of the early bragging flags was, well, I've got 100 AI use cases in my library, right? We've got 150 we're going to go after. And I really think you need to pull that back, right? You don't need 150 AI use cases. You need 5, right? Go after 3 to 5 high impact, achievable use cases that move the needle for your organization. That's how you're going to start to pick up adoption. That's how you're going to start to pick up speed. And that's how you're going to find ROI.
Oh, that's a great point.
I get another one. So we've talked before, 95% of AI projects fail. So why are the 5%, why is CBTS success in that 5% range?
It's because we're doing exactly what we're talking about. We're not focused on the hype, we're focused on serving customers. And when you focus on delivering
business outcomes like Andre was talking about.
Exactly what Andre's talking about. Business outcome focused AI is really the name of the game. And it is exactly what's separating those who are already seeing success from those who are trying to make their way. Avoid hype, focus on your business, focus on your customers, and you're going to win.
I mean, one of the things we're known for, Andre, believe it or not, is saying no. you bring us a customer and an opportunity, and we also need to know when to say, nope, that's not the right fit. Somebody doesn't have the right expectations. We're not going to be the right fit. So being able to understand where we win too is good. Yep. Cool. Andre, some other thoughts from you? We're kind of winding down here. Anything else that we missed or you want to add here?
No, I think I'm fine. I think we're on the right path. As I said, right now, I think the focus is really going to be on governance, since we have usage in these organizations. Well, the visibility, it starts with visibility. So we have the usage, shadow IT, shadow AI is all happening. So I think governance, policies, risk management, security, all of those things are going to be a focus going forward this year. And as I said, since agentic AI is here and is going to continue to grow.
Well, we appreciate that. Andre, we love being part of your ecosystem. So thanks for the opportunity to do this with us. If you've got any of your prospects and customers out there that would like to talk, just kind of an easy, even 30-minute consultation, we'd love to get together and talk to them. So thank you for the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks.